Doing something for the first time is wild. And when you think of the outdoors, it's inherently wild. I think the most important thing for me is sharing an activity, sharing what I love with people that have not experienced that or have some kind of barrier related to it. The magic of being able to create that bond, that connection with an activity, a person, a place, that's special. Sweet, so we'll roll right into it. Another episode of Sincerely Yours Outdoors. Here with the broski, Adam. Pleasure to meet you, my friend. Pleasure to be in this space.
Nice
How
to
you
meet
feeling,
you.
man? I know we snuck up on you today.
We rolled up on you. Yeah.
I'm good. I'm a little tired. This is nice. So the energy's good. Usually at this point in the day, I'm like falling asleep standing up. So that's good. I usually would not be awake now. It's what, like, I go to bed at 8:30,
Ooh.
9 o'clock. I wake up at 2.
Oh, wow.
Not by choice.
Okay.
I just wake up at like 2 to 4 a.m. So I'm feeling pretty. I'm drained, but I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Well, thank you for spending, what, an hour and a half with us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will pass out immediately.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, man, we certainly appreciate you. You know, it's this thing, I think, for us kind of moved real quick for us. So I know I did that call with you about a week ago, and now here we are literally right in front of you after your work day as an arborist. So we're so grateful for your time.
I think we talked while I was doing a survey or something.
Yeah, I called you as you were doing a survey. Yeah, no doubt. So yeah, I think we've not matched you, but I think we can agree with like exhaustion. We've just been running and gunning here for all of our time in Portland thus far. So
Yeah.
we've been able to connect with some really exceptional people and happy to further connect with you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the travel wears on you.
Yeah.
No doubt.
East Coast to West Coast for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Just wears differently.
Yeah. Jet lag, change of scenery.
Yeah.
Passive drivers.
Yep. We've had it all. No doubt. I mean, I guess kind of to kick things off for us, Adam, kind of like, what are you consuming nowadays? I mean, I was joking around, like you're a man of many talents. You mentioned like workshopping, you mentioned reading, writing, all the recreation activities that you do. What are you consuming? That can be, across many different platforms of like art to video to cinema to music.
Yeah. Spotify weekly Discover Mix, the Friday weekly mix. Lots of bad television. Not like TV shows. Like, I will watch any movie on Amazon, on Netflix, but I've watched so many movies that I know when things are going to happen. So I will like skip to when the crux of the plot is. And if it's good and it has like good production quality, I'll go back and watch the whole movie. A lot of YouTube. I read a lot of studies, like tree-related things, carpentry stuff, kayaking. autobiographies, weird science stuff. My undergrad was in psychology and neuroscience, so like I nerd out about that stuff. Yeah, that's kind of what I do. Or yeah, mostly sleep.
Yeah, mostly sleep. Nice, nice. And I realized that I neglected to, create space and opportunity for you to introduce yourself as well. As I was kind of like first connecting with you, the further I like did my research and like finding out who you are from like the public perception as me being just a consumer in that kind of nature, the more I learned about like what you do and what you are conveying as to like the things that you're really passionate about. The coffee quick hits question was around your coffee talks, as you have conversations surrounding like a wide range of topics and the impersonations and impressions that you have as well. So it's like really like I feel like if I do anything to like catch the breadth of all the things that you do, it's going to be a disservice. So I'll create an opportunity for you to share all the things that you want to share with the audience and our team.
Well, I mean, yeah, I been an arborist for 10 years. It's definitely like I love my job. I get to be outside all the time. I learned how to do my job from two really great friends and like have continued the tradition even after one of them passed away. So it's really special to me. The kayaking is like the one of the things I chose to be very good at, I guess. Like I made a conscious decision like I want to get really good at this, and I've done it long enough that like yeah, my ground crew says I'm getting old. I'm not old. I'm 36, but like I've done it long enough that I'm at the point where I just like have really switched from the extreme sports side to like enjoyment. Like I still do extreme things, but it's more about the people I'm doing them with than just doing it. And all that like that kind of growth and things like that came out of it was a couple years ago. Just so I'd been doing what you're saying, like finding out about me in the public space, like I was been a model and actor for like over 13 years, so I definitely have been visible for a long time, but not in a context. And I didn't really start doing that till like 2018, 2019. I started writing for Melon and Basecamp, I think, in 2017. And I love writing. That's a really great medium for me. But talking with a few friends over the years after that, they were basically like, if you can't, one of their sayings was like, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And they basically positively coerced me into talking about the things that I thought about and talked about in private. So that's kind of when that kicked off as far as being involved with things like Diversify Whitewater, doing a lot more public writing as far as melanin, doing more podcasts, things like that. Um, and then when did I start that? I think end of 2020, maybe 2021. I just randomly decided I wanted to create a grant, which I got a lot of people like, oh, they're like, how did you create this grant? Like, what avenues did you go through? And I was like, I just took a bunch of paychecks and gave people money because they needed it. So I don't know. I don't know what the context that people see me in. I make a very concerted mental effort to like not think about it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, people are like, I love your Instagram. I'm like, this is weird. Like, thank you. I guess like it's just something I do in the morning because I want to talk shit.
Yeah.
And it's like
It's entertaining.
Yeah, and it's positive. Like it's not like I'm in the car road raging. It's like positive. Yeah, I guess that's me in the context of like what is visible to the greater audience is like trying to just be a available reference for doing things, and like not everything's great all the time, and like yeah, sometimes you don't want to like get up and do things, like just kind of trying to give like a overview of how I live my life without giving too much of myself. I definitely still try to protect like the privacy of my life to some extent. I share a lot of things in the written word and in social media, because I think that's valuable for people. But I still like, that's just a part of me. Like, I do all of these things, and they're all very important to me. But I don't know, it's a small segment. So when you're like, oh, what all do you do? I'm like, those are just things I do.
Yeah.
And sometimes I stop doing them for long periods of time, like, and then come back to it. Like you're talking about taking up one new sport, means that you're going to do, like, not do something else as much. So that definitely ebbs and flows in my life. My girlfriend was just like, you do too much. She's like, you worked all day, and you're doing this podcast with these guys.
Now you have to hang out with us for another hour.
Yeah. She's like, you're doing too much. I'm like, yeah, probably, but like, it's fine. I'll sleep tomorrow.
Yeah. No, I mean that's like the authenticity, of all. And I was reading, all of your articles as well, and it's like the shift to use like your indoor voice outdoors is kind of like the ways in which I would like frame that, and I think that's so powerful, for others to share on their own narrative and own accord, like parts of them that they want to share. So I want to certainly commend you on doing that, because upon me reading it, I was like, oh, this is inspiring, for someone to be authentic in this capacity.
That's the point. Yeah, beyond the you can't be it if you don't see it thing. I don't know. Like my family has always been like, I'll say, relentlessly supportive. Like when you're like, I don't actually want help, there's still there. I think we were talking about it, like when I got into snowboarding as a kid, my parents were like, that's too expensive. And they didn't just stop the conversation. They're like, what do you want to do? Let's find something else. So basically they kind of like instilled that thing of like, you should be able to do whatever you want. And if you can't, for whatever reason, like, don't just get down about that. Like, if there's no, like, you can't figure out a way to do that thing, maybe you need to let that go and find something else. Or you like, I mean, when I wanted things as a kid, I had to write essays. Like, and your parents have already decided what they're going to do, but it's why I can write the way I write. It's like I had to make convincing arguments on like why I want a dog, or why I want these toys, or why I should get a bigger allowance.
Yeah. Didn't any of those things happen?
Yeah, all three. I'm also the baby, so like I got what I wanted. My mom thought I was going to be a lawyer, though. She's like, you talk to people into anything. I was like, this is what the being a guide was for. I was like, you're gonna have a great day, even though you're like really scared right now.
Literally, yeah.
But yeah, I think the authenticity comes from also like, I was like during 2020, I thought about, we were on a road trip during lockdown, which is like however folks feel about that. But just having a conversation with some friends that I was on the road trip with, and it's just like a few of us were just starting to go into the realm of being like professional athletes, being like sponsored by different companies in different sports. And we're like, okay, well, like now we're gonna be pro. What's the point? Like we're also like the majority of us like in our late 20s to like mid 30s. So it's like, you're a pro athlete. What is your position? Like, are you an extreme person? You're just doing gnarly shit. Are you somewhere in the middle? And I feel like a lot of the sports have taken more of those people in the middle. And what we kind of came up with is like, if you're given that platform, like you should affect some change. And like, I feel like a lot of people, when they're given a platform, they go, it's not bad, but they go like really big. They're like, I have this platform, I'm going to change a bunch of things, even though I come from this spot that still has shit going on. And that's kind of where I started with things. Is like, I'm in the kayaking community, and I have been here a long time, and I have an intimate understanding of it and like how we behave and things. And so there's a bunch of positives and negatives, and a lot of parallels to non-kayaking life, like regular day-to-day life. So that was kind of the stuff I wanted to. So one of the things I know the best, it makes me really happy. So using that to frame kind of the lessons I learned from over the years and from my parents.
Yeah, and let's backtrack. Like, how did kayaking start for you? And even like further than that, like how did your outdoor recreation relationship like occur with being outdoors? Like, were there like formative experiences? Was it like turning the water on and off, like a steady drip? How did that start for you?
I have two older brothers, and the The second one, Jonathan, was super. I mean, we used to get like Field and Stream, like Sierra Trading Magazine, all that. And he was definitely the one that like, he's the more outdoorsy of my two brothers. My other brother is a very accomplished musician and like artist, and just really cool. They're both really cool. But Jonathan was like, he got me into the outdoor stuff, and I grew up from all over the place, but you know, grade school, junior high, for the most part, was in southern Michigan, and like my parents would disconnect the cable after Saturday night, and like you just we're back when that whole '90s thing, like come back when the porch lights are on, or you're grounded. In the town I lived in, it was just like we mountain biked, we ran around, we played war, all sorts of stuff, just big woods, and then later in like high school, back to that, like I couldn't snowboard because of our like how much money we had. And we lived in Arizona, so it's like a 4-hour drive. Pay all this money, like you're only going to do it a couple times a year. So my parents like, I tried this, that, or the third, they went to a birthday party at a rock gym, and I was like, oh, I love this shit. So they like got me into climbing, got me into trail running. And, yeah, that kind of continued all the way into college, more or less. And then one of my best friends took me rafting, and that was actually, it was not a good trip really, but it was like really funny. We like swam for a half mile. It was winter, just total shit show, and I was like, I love this shit. This is great. uh can Context is like that. Backtrack a little bit, is like I like really hard things. It's like how I decompress and focus. Like I just learned how to go on a vacation and sit on a beach, like literally this year. Like we went to Mexico, I sat on a beach. I was like, okay, this isn't bad.
Yeah.
Like usually my vacations are like, oh, I'm going to Mexico to go kayaking in the mountains. I'm gonna go to Ecuador to kayak in the jungle, or like something like that. It's like not restful. Um, but yeah, things being really hard. So like the whole difficulty of learning how to raft and learning how to kayak appealed to me. And like prior to that, I'd been into mountaineering, so there was aspects of that, and it just kind of was fit. It's a very hard sport to get into as a young adult or an adult really. It's kind of one of those legacy sports where like you can teach yourself to ski and snowboard. You can like pay for like a lesson or two and like get the general idea. Kayaking is like you're a special person if you teach yourself how to kayak, whitewater kayak, and then continue to progress on from that without like it's generally frowned upon to paddle by yourself. It's super dangerous, but it's just really hard. Like you have to have somebody bring you into the community. You have to have lessons available, or you have to like. There's a lot of people I paddle with that it's generational. Like they've been paddling since they were knee high. Their parents have been paddling forever, and you see a lot of those families like that, where you see people like I got into it through an outdoor program, which meant I had those resources. Um, it's also one of those sports that's like $3,000 to get in. I mean, maybe more if you buy all new stuff these days. But if you buy all used stuff, over 1,500, you have to have a car. Uh, you have to have the internet. You have a cell phone. You need to have friends. You have to have a friend that has a car. Like all of that, just to go kayaking one day, not including the technical skill that goes into kayaking. Um, so yeah, I loved all of that. And that was like 13 years ago, I want to say, something like that. It's been a really good run.
Yeah.
So.
Sports like what you referenced as far as mountain biking, kayaking to rock climbing. Historically we've been one of few, one in some of these spaces. I mean, I appreciate your perseverance, especially in water sports, and us growing up in the South, knowing what the Nantahala River looks like, hopping on some of those and being like, yo, this isn't for me, So to see someone that's like, yo, this is like my love, this is my passion, and sticking through it, knowing that probably some of those same thoughts have kind of passed through your mind. speak to your perseverance in that and what you're looking to do in terms of changing that ideology that people like us can be in these spaces and that there's people doing it. We just need to be seen in there.
Yeah. I don't know. Back to the like positively, I was coerced
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
space. Like I very much grew up. Well, I mean, I grew up in a family that I'm first generation out of the Caribbean. So like, yeah, my parents, my mom left home when she was 17, never went back. My dad was X amount of years to become a pastor, and the next amount of years after that to become a psychologist. So like, very much like self-made
Mm-hmm.
people, like still very family oriented, but like our family was the unit. We lived really far away from all our extended family. So even as far as like seeing other black people, like other people in our community, like I would have to go to church, as my father was pastor of the most of the black churches wherever we lived. He ended up being the head of the Southwest Division of the Adventist Church at one point. So that was like my connection with people of color, like not outdoors really, generally centered around certain kinds of sports, events, and church. Um, excuse me, sorry. Uh, Getting people out became important to me, like slowly, because I am a bit of a hermit, believe it or not. How much like you see stuff. That's kind of what I was getting at, where I was like, there's public facing me, which is me. It is me, and there's private me, and they are the same person. But like, this person is super engaging. Not that I wouldn't be if we weren't doing this, but like,
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time doing things like this. It used to be like I had two personalities. I like set and not set, and it was really weird.
Yeah.
But you grow up, you figure out how to be a normal person, hopefully. And so the public facing me is like expresses all my thoughts and definitely has like motivations that come from the outside. My internal thoughts aren't like extraordinarily different than what I'm espousing on the internet, but like I experience all the things I'm trying to inspire people to like get through just as much. And so like creating that space where I'm like, hey, you should go do this, or you should like just persevere through it, or try something again, or maybe try something new, is all coming out of the space of like literally how I might be feeling that morning, or how I'm feeling that week. And like I'm doing it as much for me as I'm doing it for other folks. And like that goes the same with the kayaking and like most of the other outdoor sports. Is over the years, like I actually just paddled the Little White with another black person for the first time like a month or two ago. Like literally, I've
Wow.
never done that. And then the first time I went out to North Carolina for Green Race, which is a huge kayaking race there. Got to paddle with Rashid Clifton and Justin, who are like the other two at the time, like high level kayakers. I think it was the first time there were three of us.
Yeah.
Probably was the first time there were three of us at Green Race. So definitely very aware of being one of the few, and like even in our community when I was like coming up, I was I liked tough things. I wasn't great at kayaking when I started. I swam a lot, but didn't mind suffering.
Hmm.
So like I was either known as the dude who was like just kept going and was like very resilient and persevering, or they're like, who are you paddling with? Like his name's Adam or something. Oh, you mean the black guy? And yeah, it's a good way. Like, hey, I remember you because of this, but it's also like being remembered on your features instead of your merit. So that kind of bugged me, and everything in our country came to a head in 2020, and I'd already been thinking about it before that, and like trying to make inroads in our community with the kayaking, because there were some things that I was like perpetually annoyed with, still annoyed with, so I just give people shit about it. But yeah, like having the experiences leading up to that, and then the experiences in 2020, kind of being like, well, you have a platform, you use it, or you need to stop having a platform. It's like, what's the point? I think, like, at least for me, like, having, if I'm going to have like this motivated presence in social media, or I'm going to be writing for publications of any sort, it's like, you just do it, but if it doesn't have a point, why bother? Like, I don't want to write BuzzFeed articles about like, oh, what are the 3 favorite pieces of gear you have? Like, I've done that, but it's like not my favorite thing to do, and it's
That's no
important.
slight at
That's not
anyone's
a
shot.
It's an
For sure.
important thing. Like, people need to know that stuff, and like I did like a week takeover for Dagger kayaks, which I'm sponsored by, and that was super fun. But like, I wasn't sitting there like, oh, buy this, buy that. I was like, this is all the stuff I actually carry, and this is why I carry it, which is like something we all try to do in that space. So I feel like I've gone very, very far off,
No.
track here.
No, I think I do want to say the perseverance in terms of the experience, whether it be swimming or whether it be the external forces that are looking upon you as like you're just like an anomaly. Like the ability to push through that is really awesome, and I appreciate you and commend you for doing that. It's almost like the book, The Obstacle is the Way. It's like, there's going to be something in front of you, but to be able to push through that, champion that, and be able to, be that beacon of hope for the next generation or the next person that's going to try, kayaking is a huge, huge feat and is greatly appreciated in this space. So
I'm really hoping.
yeah.
Yeah, and we I'm part of like Diversify Whitewater, which is from out east, and we didn't do the event this year. I was kind of overwhelmed with a bunch of stuff. But the last 2 years we've had it, and there's another event in Seattle. They did hold that one, and we kind of framed ours around just doing beginner, like not even beginner paddling. Like, literally, the event is like, come check out
Yeah.
all these paddle craft, and like, we're gonna have all these whitewater kayakers there who are very accomplished at almost all of these things, and just like, not even teaching. Like, how we ran the Portland event is like, I'd get all my instructor friends, they'd bring all their boats, like, which we have boat problems because, we had a great ratio of 50 participants to 50 instructors, and we had like 100 and some odd boats because everyone just like brings all their stuff. But the point of that is similar, like, just trying to literally destroy the barrier to entry, and then also like completely remove, like, try to completely remove the stigma and anxiety of like learning a new thing in a weird space where you're generally not represented. Uh, and that wasn't. It's not that it wasn't 100%. It worked really well. I think in some ways, like, if you don't have people of color teaching people of color, the people that are filling that instructor space, if they're like not even like allies for sure, but they need to be open-hearted, very like generous people, and those are the kind of people that we've been working with. So it's been great. Um, but yeah, like, being able to like, last year I kind of started, while I had the time and space, to do private lessons for people of color for whitewater, and I ran 2 of those, and it was really great. And the folks were like, "You have no idea how important this was to us." Like, this whole process, even a couple years in, and just literally running and gunning, I just still like learn so much new stuff from folks, because other than like consuming knowledge to then apply, like I said, I'm still like consciously just like not trying to dive into what the product or like the results of my actions are. I was like trying to do what I think is good, based on what I'm seeing and like how people are interacting with me. And then after that, I was like, well, I helped. Or like, if you continue to need help, I'm here. But like, it's not that, yeah, that makes it sound like I'm not following up with them. I'm just not really, I don't know the word I'm looking for.
No, I'm
Yeah.
I get what you're saying here, and it's like to lead people to access and to have opportunity, and then also like following alongside them. But after that, it's like knowing that you're there as a resource to them for continuation, for insight, for education, things of that nature, is like going to create that opportunity for those that are interested in that and have that spark to like be like following up with Adam. Like, this is my person, for that. So, no, I think that's a thoughtful approach for supporting people there. You mentioned kind of like some of the challenges that are being experienced and that are still persisting throughout. What do you think is like the next step for not just like you independently? Because I mean the challenge for Black and brown people aren't for Black and brown people to solve.
Yeah.
To be transparent. So what do you think the solution is? I mean, of course, like Black and brown people play a role in that, but it's like it's not independently for solving that. So
within the lens of like outdoor activity, whether it's you and the homies or like family friends or on a paid trip or experience like that, I kind of subscribe to the belief that, or kind of talking about, we were talking about earlier, like a rap guide makes everything seem like it's great no matter what's happening. And I've kind of like taken that to heart over the years. Like, I'm not always relentlessly optimistic, but I will tell you I'm relentlessly optimistic, and I will meet you where you're at. And that's kind of a thing I've tried. I tell people that when I'm like teaching, or if I'm having a shop talk with a bunch of other, or for people who are like educators and like people like me, they're just like, hey, I like to talk, and we talk about the same things. So you have a degree and I just am talking. But yeah, it's meeting people where they're at. That's something I kind of like moved towards at the end of, when I was getting towards the end of my instruction career in kayaking and the end of my guiding career, is like I found the best thing to do with anyone was to get away from the preconceived notion of what the day is supposed to be. Like, y'all ski. You ever take somebody skiing that's never skied?
yes.
Okay. How did that day go?
I mean, it went interestingly. So for context, I manage a ski program where I take like 30 to 50 kids skiing over 7 weeks.
Oh, damn.
So that's typically the response. So yeah, week one is interesting, to say the least. Yeah. A lot of falling. I am more of a cheerleader than an instructor. From clipping into your bindings to saying like, let's just start by lifting the ski in a static position so you're on one leg. Put that back down. Lift it up. Now rotate the ankle. How does that feel? Okay, now let's push forward a little bit. Fall. And then it's immediately like, that was okay. That was a good effort. Yeah. We can get back up. We're gonna try it again. We got 2.5 more hours of this. Like we're gonna master at least going down 25 meters today. Like,
and that's meeting them where they're at.
For
like
sure.
You're 100% supporting them. You're not being like, even positive. Like you could do it better. Like it's constructive. Like what's being said is constructive. The emotion given out is constructive and supportive. Yeah, but what reason why I was like, are you skiing? Like, you picked the kid thing, which is like perfect. But I was gonna say, like, you take the buddy to do something, you're like, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine, and you just put them in over their head really quick. Whether that's a too long of a walk or you took them up on a double black and they were not ready for that. And I think that's a trap everyone falls into. Like, it doesn't have to be sports. It could be like talking, reading, writing. Like, you could give somebody anxiety about being too much around them, and that's not what they need. So I think being able to, as a mentor or instructor, and ideally as a everyday person, but being able to be cognizant of like, you go into that interaction, and if you are anything more than a peer, any of your peer, but if you're in a position of some sort of power, like, you need to be aware of that, and you don't need to not exercise that power. You need to bring yourself down, meet the person where they're at, and use your power to make them feel like they're, whatever's going on, is they have the power and they made the realization and they had the aha moment. Like, I feel like we are just there to facilitate that space. And so talking about like, Black and brown people aren't necessarily the only person that has to solve problems that are going on. That's what the other half of the conversation needs to be like. Beyond like, okay, open your mind. I need you to read this. I need you to really think about stuff. It's like all of that information is valuable, and you need to do that work. But none of it's gonna stick unless you are genuinely like, I don't understand that. I need to meet you where you're at. And then you're going to have some like awkward conversations that have been now happening for years. And I imagine Thanksgiving again will be really weird for people, especially in the current political climate. But yeah, remove your ego, figure out where someone's at, and then, start the conversation or the experience there. When I do that, I have found my life gets much, much easier.
Yeah.
When I slip back into not doing it, like, oh yeah, this is why I should do that. This is really difficult.
Yeah, I would agree. And the experiences that I've had is very similar to yours, but also meeting it with joy. Like, I work with kids primarily and families, and it's like you show up with the same amount of energy as a kid, even if it's just like kind of anxious energy, but like, hey, I'm here for you and this experience. And I've had kids that have showed up and just said, day one, I'm going down on Black Diamond. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to experience that on day 5. Like, oh, this green, this beginner's loop is going to be just glorious for you today.
Yeah.
Obviously it's day 5 that we're going down that Black Diamond, but
Yeah.
like trying to match that energy, but in a lane that's appropriate for them is like, is so powerful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that's like they talk about it, in, like if you're an educator and like you get a degree in, good Lord, it's not a degree in teaching. Yeah, I feel like that still gets missed.
Yeah.
Like, there's good teachers, there's bad teachers, there's, good people doing good work, and there's people who aren't great, but they're still doing good work.
This is true. Yeah.
So, no, I think, what you're saying, that's super important.
Adam, the introspection I think that you're like sharing leads to wonder like the origin of such. Like, you're giving out like really significant gems, that are like, did you gather this insight and this perspective from like great mentorship, bad coaches, like personal experience of like, do this, don't do this kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like, where did this like start for you? And like, to the point in which you're sharing, and I'm
yeah.
like, this is a gem, this is a gem, this is like,
I grew up in church with a mother and father who were very eloquent. Like, my dad gave amazing sermons, and like, I don't go to church anymore and any of that, but like, I remember those sermons, and like, he was a great orator and a great writer. And my parents just really, impressed upon me the ability to express myself well, because I definitely had difficulty doing that as a child. So yeah, a lot of the introspection comes from, or most of it just comes from years and years of ruminating. I deal with mental health issues, and like various other normal life stuff, and like learning how to deal with that stuff over the years, like a ton of introspection, and then as growing into an adult man, like in the world we live in, like, and also being like, almost all of my best friends are women. Like, I've got like my best guy friends. There's definitely a big cadre of them, but like during the formative periods of my life, like most like a woman introduced me to whitewater. A woman one of my best friends introduced me to climbing, trail running, all that stuff. And so like that's another aspect of the thoughtfulness, is like not just the gender part, but knowing that there are multiple aspects to any conversation and any feeling. So yeah, mix of that, and I've always wanted to do like a 2-hour comedy set, and I just never do it. So I'm just workshopping jokes
Yeah.
on the internet.
you have material for us?
No, but I can tell you my favorite. I could tell you my favorite way to say "f you" to somebody without saying it. I just learned this one, and there's no cursing,
Please share.
and it's very tree specific. Somewhere there is a tree recycling all the oxygen that you wasted. you should go find that tree and apologize.
Strong. 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 That could resurface in future episodes of the podcast. That could resurface. That's strong.
Yeah, I heard that. And I was like, oh, that's right up my alley.
Yeah. Everyone can just see the joy on your face. You're like so proud of that.
You don't get to tell tree jokes very often, and it's very rare to find one, on the other hand, that's good.
This was your chance for the audio listeners. They're like, I hope they're seeking to see the face that you're making right now, which is so strong. Like mentioning the projects that you're on, you were mentioning and like amplified in Kenny's video or movie.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that and like what that experience was like? Because it's kind of like all the things that we're talking about, like captured in a film through your lens and perspective.
Yeah. So we started that years time and years of really like I lost their meaning with me since 2020. So like at some point since then, maybe like 2 years ago, we all started. We did basically this thing called the Black Boy Joy Tour, which started out with us like trying to do a podcast. We like went snowboarding all day, shot a bunch of stuff, and then proceeded to nearly freeze in the Timberline parking lot late at night. Like we were given permission to like film there, and then like none of our heaters worked. It was like negative 12 or something stupid. Like I think me and Kenny were sleeping in our vans with our little buddy heater right next to us, and just waking up and opening the window every like half hour or something.
Oh my god!
But yeah, that was kind of the start of it. There was another like project in there that kept like the energy going, and then it kind of took shape into like originally it was going to be like, oh, we're going to do this snowboarding film, and we're like, it's really hard to shoot snowboarding.
Yeah.
Because we were kind of flying by the seat of our pants with it. So then it turned into this like, all right, let's make these 3 stories about our separate experiences within being a person of color, but then like more as we are a person, we are people of color, but this is the experience, and it's the same experience that other people of color may be having, non-people that aren't people of color, whatever, Caucasians, anyone else. I don't know what the politically correct thing for that is. But basically like showing that the experience is universal, and more so showing our community that like, yo, you can go do this stuff and it doesn't matter what else is happening. Like my segment is around grief and trauma, like anxiety, dealing with that. Elijah's segment is around like belonging and finding family, and very much like fitting in and figuring out how to deal with that. And then Kenny's is around mental health and like finding something that brings you joy. And those were all experiences we had been having through that space. I think in my segment, like where Kenny was interviewing me, I had a friend die the week before kayaking, and I was leaving on a trip to the Grand Canyon. Like, say it happened Saturday, I was leaving the next Saturday. So it's pretty like on the nose for what each of us was going through at the time. It was fun to make. And then on the other hand, we're like, cool, we made the heavy one. Now we want to make like Black Boy Stoke film, like just have a good time. So yeah, not do the heavy one again.
Nice.
Can
we anticipate the return of Black Boy Joy podcast?
Probably. Yeah.
Is this an announcement?
No, it's not. We are working on a podcast, but it's related to our hunting project. But it definitely, like, I pull them off the rails all the time.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, we're going hunting. It's fine. But like, have you guys watched this?
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll come back.
Brilliant podcast name, by the way.
We got another name for a podcast, but I can't. It's not out yet. But when the hunting thing comes out, it's gonna be kind of like that fishing thing I told you about. Like we might have to change something.
I can't wait. Yeah, this is gonna be cool. Yeah, just let us know. Let us know. We'll tap in. No, I love that. This is like a great tie-in as to what your next adventure is, and this can be like
Oh, yeah.
spanning anything personal to events upcoming that you may have professionally, whatever that may be, projects, you name it, kind of thing.
I was injured most of the year, so the next big project for me is like, I mean, I'm in shape for kayaking, but trying to attain another level. I'm not gonna say the next level, but like working with my team on getting like the team I'm a part of, I'm getting better. Working with my friends, are getting better. We tried some expeditions last year that didn't work out for me, just on like mental and physical game. And so next year, or the year after, I'm hoping to kind of tick some of those off. If not, just like level up a bit, paddle with my buddies more. I like to do a lot of exploring close to my home, so I don't have to like travel around the world to do it. And then, so that's like the kayaking thing. As far as projects and stuff, like, Kenny, Elijah, and I are working on this hunting thing that's coming along. That we're doing that for the rest of hunting season. We'll see how that takes shape, what it comes into or becomes. I have been working for a couple months. I've been filming my mother for on and off for a bit, trying to get her life story and like her history. My father passed away in 2016, and like, yeah, I had a great relationship with him. I know a lot about his life, but not really. And that was something where like I talked to my uncles and things like that to get more information, and I have a pretty good picture. But it's like one of those. It's not a regret. It's not like I'm torn up about this, but it is something I didn't want to repeat. So it's like let me get mom to be on board with this. So we've been doing that a little bit on and off, like half doing this like memoir and half doing a cooking show because I also want all her recipes. Y'all, have you had Caribbean food?
Jerk chicken, but I mean, it's like,
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay? So there's Portland. They have Caribbean food, and
Okay.
I'm not crap talking it, but like it's not home cooked.
give us a lowdown.
You should go to Yaad's.
Okay.
It's on MLK. Go early because all the Caribbean people will order everything. And then if you get there at like 2 or 3 o'clock, they're like, "Nah, we don't have that."
What's the meal of choice?
Curry goat and oxtail, escabeche. Those are two pretty good ones. You can just get some roti, or I mean, if you get some patties, like empanada, but it's Jamaican version.
Okay.
Spicy, good.
Okay.
Very flaky. But yeah, staple curry goat and oxtail. I'll take you there. Yeah, there's Yachts and then Jamaica House on Killingsworth.
Okay.
And those are your two personally best options, I think.
We'll work on getting you some residuals for the shout out of the podcast.
Every time
My guy needs some royalties here.
Dude, every time I go to Yards, it's too late in the day, and they're like, "No, we don't have that." I'm like, "Well, what do you have? I'll take whatever that is." But yeah, it's good stuff. I'm sorry, where did we start? I got distracted by that.
Any other upcoming things?
Upcoming project? Yeah, mom's cooking. I have some in the fridge right now. I should probably eat that. So that project was going to make them separate, but now we're thinking, have her permission to make them into one thing, and it's filmmaking. What story to tell? And I think my next project kind of split between that and what I've been thinking about is doing one project on it, like my mother's story and how her life, kind of evolved to where she is now, and it's very like I'm family, and it's like tearjerker compelling. There's like stuff I didn't know and stuff I did know, and then out of that, I want to workshopping a film or workshopping a story on addiction and how we deal with that or trauma within the extreme sports world, but not a film being like, excuse me, showing a bunch of gnarly extreme sports, like going and talking, sitting down like this and talking with people and be like, getting them to be open, like I have this issue, and kind of like how I've used this to cope with this, like a common theme through all my friends that participate in extreme sports, professional athlete or not, is at some point, if not currently, since they've been doing it, it is a toxic relationship where they're using it to fully escape something. And so like making is, finding a story around like what is that thing people are escaping, and like can you confront what your favorite thing is actually toxic for you, or can you make it into something positive? Uh, and I've had that experience, and it's an ebb and flow, because like this winter when I was injured, I was a terrible person to be around, because no matter how long I had thought I had gotten to the point where kayaking wasn't like the like needed in my life, to just flat out like, so I'll just not go kayaking and it's fine, but to not be able to like physically not be able to, and it affected my work and a bunch of other stuff, but like I had no outlet other than drawing and reading and writing, and I couldn't work out, I couldn't do it, and it was crushing. And then I was like, oh, I have no other way to express or like deal with my feelings other than this thing. Like that's how I deal with my like deep anxiety, my anger and stuff. Is like I go kayaking. Like all I can focus on is what is in front of me. And then when it's calm, I can like decompress and think these other things. And like without that, I was like, oh, you just backslid into not using your like cognitive behavioral therapy and being able to like self-soothe. Like you've been using this thing. So I would like to make a story about that. I think it would be very helpful to people. So
Most certainly, and compelling, without a doubt. Before we wrap, you have any?
I just want to say thank you. Like, I'm in a posture of just receiving all this, and it's been just amazing to hear this. A lot of things have connected with me just individually in terms of social media use more directly. Like, I'm going through something very similar in terms of, I would say, aside from this podcast, like, people don't know me. Like my outdoor experience over the past 20 years has just been so harbored in self. But I've been kind of on this, like, I would say my expedition over the past like 4 weeks have been incredible. I've went to 4 different states. I've been to 23 national parks over the past 4 weeks.
He's been getting after it.
And climbing to backpacking to mountaineering. I've done all of these things. And I've consumed all that in an effort to like encourage our community to go out and see these things. Because for the longest of time, I didn't go to my first national park until I lived in one in Asheville. At the Blue Ridge Parkway and Smoky Mountain National Park. I didn't even think of it as special until I left it. And so many people have looked at us in this podcast or like the experiences that we've shared and been like, I didn't even know that was for me. And all of our, I would say East Coast people, while we have great assets, they haven't even considered going to Joshua Tree or the Tetons or Canyonlands or all of these places. So you kind of referencing a lot of your introspectiveness and how you display yourself. I'm in that now, So thank you for sharing that. I've just been like sitting here like, oh, dude, this is great. So thank you. Yeah, like,
thank you. Y'all asked the question.
This is the thing that I needed just in terms of understanding what's next for me.
Oh, thank you all. Because like before we were filming, I was like, what did I say? That, oh gosh, I just don't think about like expressing. I think I was saying like that weird podcast where I didn't know how to talk about things. And I feel like I'll just ask like, hey, it's conversational, and that makes things so much easier. But I'll just ask the right questions. Like, I have like ideas of what to say a little bit more, but I feel like a genuine conversation brings out the correct nuance. Like you're not just getting this is what I think, this is why it's good. It's like actual context, and I appreciate you sharing that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Most certainly.
Aside from the beta that you gave me as well.
That was my other thing. That was my other thought. I was like, so you got 23 in 4 weeks. Like this dude's gonna be gone tomorrow. Got some drive.
I mean, we were with some other friends earlier this week, and I was like, Smith.
It's not that far.
I
It's
packed
like,
all my stuff.
yeah, it's real
I
close.
keep telling people, I'm like,
just get on 26 and just straight.
If nothing's on the schedule for tomorrow or Thursday wraps up early, I'll see you guys at Smith Rock. So
That's quick. stay out of Redmond.
Yeah, you got it.
It's fine. But just go to Bend.
Yeah.
It's like our Aspen
Yeah.
or Asheville, I guess. It's
Yeah.
more like Aspen. But they got good food.
Yeah.
They got some cool stuff. So.
Yeah. Nice. So, I guess before we wrap, one last question is shout outs that you'd like to provide. We know that while it may appear as independent journeys, it's like you're a fabric of, or a byproduct of those that are supporting and lifting you behind the scenes. So are there people that you want to say thank you to? Because this is your direct opportunity to do just that.
Just want to thank mom and dad. No, like my brother, Jane Edwards, amazing event organizer here in Portland, super supportive, amazing fucking musician. If you're in Portland, go to the Alberta Street Pub on Sunday night.
Still working on residuals.
Oh, yeah. I get to go. If I go, it's good. I have a good time. I get free earplugs and a soda water. I don't. So,
We'll try to get 2 for you next time.
oh, thank you. Yeah. Kenny Hamlet of Better Days West, good friend, amazing filmmaker, Better Family. Elijah Burton, great photographer. You probably can't get on his planes unless you're cargo, but he's a good dude. Darrell Wade of PDX Black Men's Wellness, just had a great experience with them over the last year or two, on and off doing work with them, and really like what he does. A few other people in, oh gosh. Outdoor Afro up here, Diversify Whitewater, state, nationwide, doing good work to get people into paddle sports, kind of lower that barrier of entry. Erin McGrady out east just opened up a scholarship today. If you go find her on Instagram, I'm sorry, I do have my phone.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah,
We got
but Erin McGrady, amazing human being as well. But yeah, they've been putting together this grant for a bit, and it's going to be awesome. It's open to like LGBTQIA++ people, people of color, and yeah, it's like a very 10 times the upgrade of the grant I started, because like they did the work. They actually, like, it's solid. I was just like, I got some money. You want it? I'm gonna give you just enough that we don't have to do taxes, and we'll call it good. You didn't hear that?
It's okay. No.
I mean, it's fine. It's like $600. That's
Yeah.
That's not a thing. So yeah, I guess that's folks I give a shout out to, and just like my inner circle of friends and family that keep me honest. Make sure I have we have these discussions, but they're intensely more heated.
Yeah.
That's just like family night for us, and it's really good. So like, thank you to all of them for like bringing a diversity of opinion, because that's what y'all are getting in the coffee talks and the writing, is like my like blood family, my chosen family, all of my work family. You're getting all those experiences. Cup of coffee and some shit talk.
And how can people find you for those said coffee talks?
Instagram, Adam Cheshire Edwards, like the cat. I don't have it's X now. I don't have one of those. I don't have a TikTok. I'm on Facebook, but I really only use it for kayaking.
Okay.
Like, that's how we see where danger is or what the water level is. I have a website, which is adamcheshireedwards.com, and it's got my photography and kind of that other stuff I do. You can reach me through email on that. You can reach me through Instagram on either of those. Please don't be offended if I don't respond quickly. I, as they said, do a lot of things,
Yep.
and I forget to answer emails sometimes, so it's what it is. And if you send enough emails, maybe I'll give you my phone number. We can talk. But
You open that door, people are gonna walk through.
oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
No, I do that. Like, there's folks that have reached out like through social media and be like, hey, can we talk about this or that? Like, stuff around race, stuff around paddling, like heavy or light subjects. I'm like, yeah, like get on the phone, we'll chat for a little bit. It's like anything. Like, talk to somebody in the street, like, oh, this is good, and then they start getting weird. Like, okay, maybe not, but like that hasn't happened. But like, it's the same thing for me, and it's also like we were talking about like public persona, private persona. It's like I don't have two personas, but like I have severe social anxiety. So like interacting with people is a process. So I just try to do it when I have the energy for it. The rest of the time, my mom says I'm just like mute. My girlfriend doesn't believe that though. She's
Yeah.
like, we were babysitting our buddy's dog, and she's like, we need a dog because that gives you someone to talk to. So I just like talk to the dog, for, like nothing, just the whole time.
So next time we follow up,
Man's best friend.
maybe a dog. Huh?
Seriously, no.
Maybe a dog.
Happy wife, happy life. Give the dude a dog. Like, those are, I'll be fine.
Nice.
Anyway,
Well, Adam, we're grateful for your time. Man.
Very much so, my friend.
We will most certainly stay connected, happy and excited to share, your story with our audience in your own words. So super excited for that as well.
thanks for reaching out. That's a good, quick turnaround, and I'm really glad I said yes. This is
Likewise.
good.
Likewise, my friend.
For sure.
We'll close this out.
Yeah. Oh, ooh. We out of here, my guys. Thanks for the time.
Significant closeout there.
Significant. Yeah, I'm still processing, man. I'm like, man, my man was hitting me with some gems over here.